Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. If you think of Bitcoin as this incredibly secure, epic base game, you also know that sometimes high-volume players need a massive speed boost. Today, we're looking at the ultimate add-on, the Liquid Network. It's essentially a Layer 2 sidechain that acts as Bitcoin's high-speed, high-privacy expansion pack. But here's the thing, we've got a core problem. Cryptocurrency exchanges and large-volume institutional traders have historically run into these massive bottlenecks on the Bitcoin mainnet. We're talking about 10-minute block times and wildly unpredictable fee volatility whenever the network gets congested. So how do we fix those bottlenecks and process transactions way faster while still anchoring to the most secure blockchain on Earth? Well, to answer that, here's our level map for today. We're going to move rapidly through 6 key areas: expanding capabilities, the two-way peg, fast consensus, confidentiality and assets, governance, and finally, some truly fascinating real-world experiments. Let's just jump right in. All right, kicking things off with level 1, expanding Bitcoin's capabilities. It's actually kind of crazy how long this solution has been baking in the oven. The conceptual foundation really started back in 2014 when Blockstream, a company founded by some very prominent Bitcoin developers, published a seminal white paper on sidechains. Fast forward to October 2018, and the commercial network launched its Genesis block, backed by this massive coalition of major exchanges. And, as we'll see a bit later, by 2021, entire nations like El Salvador were actually tapping into this network for historic financial issuances. Which brings us right to level 2, the two-way peg architecture. Okay, let's dive into this. The Liquid Network runs parallel to Bitcoin, utilizing its own distinct ledger. So how do they actually talk to each other? Well, they use a sort of warp pipe called a two-way peg. Think of it literally like walking into a highly secure casino cage. In step 1, you lock up your cash, in this case your Bitcoin, in a multi-signature address on the mainnet. In step 2, you're handed casino chips, an equivalent one-to-one amount of liquid Bitcoin, or L-BTC. For step 3, you just transact on the Liquid Network blazingly fast. And when you're all done, step 4 is the peg out. You cash out your chips, they get burned on the sidechain, and your actual Bitcoin is released right back to you on the mainnet. But, security is absolutely paramount with Bitcoin. To prevent any funny business whatsoever, it historically takes exactly 102 blocks of confirmation on the main Bitcoin chain before your assets are successfully and securely pegged in. It's a bit of a wait up front, for sure, but once you pass that 102 block threshold, bam, the training wheels come off and you're ready to move at lightning speed. Now let's unlock level 3, achieving fast federated consensus. To actually get that insane speed, Liquid kinda has to rewrite the rules. Instead of Bitcoin's proof of work, which, as we know, relies on a massive, resource-intensive global mining competition, Liquid uses a proprietary protocol called Strong Federation. So there are no global miners here. Instead, block generation is handled by specialized hardware nodes known as functionaries. These functionaries operate on a strict, predictable round-robin schedule to propose and sign new blocks. So, what's the actual payoff for ditching that global mining competition? Deterministic block times of exactly 60 seconds. Yeah, exactly 1 minute. A transaction on Liquid is considered completely immutable and finalized after just 2 block confirmations. That means full, irrefutable settlement is completed in just 2 minutes flat. For institutional traders moving massive volume, that speed upgrade is a total game changer. All right, let's level up to level 4, where we'll see how this speed unlocks entirely new features: confidentiality and issued assets. Normally, on the main Bitcoin ledger, everyone can see the transaction amounts and the asset types. It's completely public. Liquid, however, introduces confidential transactions to hide the precise amount and type of asset being moved. Basically, only the sender, the receiver, and anyone explicitly holding a blinding key can view those details. But here is the genius part. The underlying cryptography still proves that the inputs and outputs balance perfectly. The network independently verifies that no fake assets were created out of thin air, all without actually seeing the amounts. And this brilliantly illustrates how Liquid evolved. It isn't just for Bitcoin anymore. Liquid is natively a multi-asset platform. Users can issue totally new digital tokens without needing to spin up a whole new blockchain from scratch. You can launch fiat-pegged stablecoins like a liquid US dollar, tokenized commodities like digital gold, or even security tokens representing fractional debt ownership. And the coolest part? All of these newly issued assets instantly inherit Liquid's 1-minute settlements and its super powerful confidential transactions. Next up is level 5, where we look at the rules of the game governing the Liquid network. Since Liquid doesn't use global miners, it needs, well, game masters to maintain the network. Enter the Liquid Federation. This is an international consortium of cryptocurrency exchanges, wallet providers, and blockchain enterprises. They are geographically dispersed all over the world to mitigate any single point of failure. The Federation's duties are strictly bifurcated into two distinct roles. First, you have the block signers, who run those hardware modules we talked about earlier to validate blocks. And second, you have the watchmen, who monitor the two-way peg and actively manage the offline and online multi-signature wallets holding the mainnet Bitcoin. The whole point of this setup is to make sure no single corporate entity can just unilaterally censor your transactions or seize your funds. But to be totally objective here, critics of the Liquid network point out a very real fundamental trade-off. This model essentially trades Bitcoin's pure radical global decentralization for a federated consortium model, one that is specifically designed for institutional speed and efficiency. It is a deliberate compromise to achieve a highly specific set of capabilities. Finally, let's hit the endgame with Level 6, Real-World Liquid Experiments. This is where all this tech gets put to the ultimate test in the real world. In late 2021, the government of El Salvador announced its intention to issue the historic $1 billion Volcano Bond. This was a massive tokenized sovereign bond designed to fund the infrastructure of Bitcoin City. And out of all the platforms available globally, the state specifically selected the Liquid network as its issuance platform. Why? Primarily because of those compliance-friendly security token features we unpacked just a minute ago. But honestly, the side quests on this network get even wilder. Liquid is basically a giant sandbox for the future of finance. It's actively used to test the L2 protocol, which is a major scaling proposal for the Lightning Network. It's also home to some of the earliest high-value digital art pieces anchored directly to Bitcoin's security. But my absolute favorite, the space settlement. Blockstream actually integrated its satellite network directly with Liquid infrastructure. This means users can literally receive Liquid blockchain data via satellite broadcast from space. You can entirely bypass the need for an active internet connection. It is the ultimate sci-fi failsafe against local network outages or censorship. Mind-blowing, right? So, we've covered a ton of incredible innovations today, from warp-speed settlements to literal satellite broadcasts from space, all built right on top of Bitcoin's foundation. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Looking closely at the federated model of the Liquid network, we really have to ask ourselves, does scaling Bitcoin's utility to meet the massive demands of global finance fundamentally require sacrificing its original, purely decentralized ethos? It's the central tension of blockchain technology today, and honestly, how we navigate it will likely define the entire future of digital assets. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the architecture of the future.